just like opened up their blind window where they didn't know what they didn't know, and that's how they knew that they needed you.
Yeah, and I think it was like I was consciously thinking, am I going to shoot myself in the foot by essentially just saying these reports are crap?
Yeah.
But I had to be honest, and I bit the bullet and just was really honest with them, and it obviously paid off because this is obviously what the board were thinking themselves.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sarah Bartholomeusz from YouLegal. The Accountants on Purpose podcast showcases inspiring accountants who are leaders in their field.
And then it just came to me like a bolt of blue.
What makes them tick?
Love it.
How did they get to where they are?
I want to inspire.
And what do they do now for their teams, their clients, and the world? Are you looking to make a difference in your accounting career? Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand have designed a new program to offer greater learning flexibility, allowing candidates to balance work and study efficiently. The new CA program offers authentic assessments based on real-world scenarios that integrate technical and professional capabilities and impactful learning through a blend of digital and face-to-face options. Learn more, search New CA Program today. My guest today is Stacey Quinn. Stacey innovates and enhances businesses. She has significant accounting, consulting and board experience, coming from over 20 years' experience in accounting firms, in corporate finance and advisory roles, working with businesses of all sizes in varying industries. Stacey is currently the manager of More Australia's corporate finance division, and her key areas of expertise include valuation, due diligence, and mergers and acquisitions. She also acts as interim and virtual CFO for various organisations and assists various clients with strategic direction, development of systems, policy and procedures, and integration of technology for improved governance and financial reporting to boards. With a passion for equality, diversity, and inclusion, Stacey is chair of the SANT Regional Council for the Chartered Accountants of Australia and New Zealand, and also sits on various other committees, including those to better assist employment outcomes for First Nations people and those living with disabilities. She has had various other chair and board positions in the sporting and not-for-profit sector.
Hi, I'm Stacey Quinn. I'm the Corporate Finance Manager for More Australia. Come join us for the Accountants on Purpose podcast.
I thought it would be good to start the podcast with a Ghana welcome.
You're going to put me on the spot, are you?
Yes, because we meet on the traditional lands of the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plain today.
Yes.
And you can do a Ghana welcome in Ghana language.
I can.
Do you need to look it up?
I think I would have it. Let me go. Nainari Stacey Katanya Quinn, Mani Nadlu Tapinthi, Gani Nadlu Panpanpampalyarinti. I think I've got that right.
That was very impressive. No.
Okay. I will apologise in advance to all Ghana people out there if I have not got it right, because normally I do just do that quick prompt before I do it. So you put me on just to make sure that I've got it, because I reckon I've probably done it about a dozen times in meetings since I learnt it. It was a challenge I set was at a CAANZ event at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Our fellowship event where we're awarding all the awards to the amazing people. Well, actually, Accountants on Purpose is perfect for it, because I reckon half of our people are perfect for this podcast, where CAs are contributing to community and things that they do. And we're sitting down at the end of it speaking to the director at one of our firms who had received it with his work with Indigenous people, and he just said, why don't you set yourself a challenge to do the acknowledgement in Ghana? And I was like, yep, I'm going to make that happen. So, yes.
And you did, and now it's on film.
I know. I'm so sorry if I messed it up.
Tell me about a day in the life of Stacey Quinn.
Well, it normally starts with some kind of exercise. I've always been really active. So gym, cycling, normally in the morning, taking the dog out for a run, something like that. And then sort of when it gets to work time, I always have this plan for the day. But I would say 95% of the time it never turns out the way that I planned it out.
Is it like a checklist?
No, it's a mental checklist. Okay. And so like probably on the way back from the gym in the morning, I'll go, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. But just because of the nature of my work, it just sort of, it never quite ends up being exactly as I planned.
Pulled in different directions.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're playing a board game with friends, are you super competitive or calm and collected?
Oh, definitely the first. So
over the top.
Yeah, over the top. So it was renowned in Monopoly. No one in my family and friendship group when we were kids was ever allowed to be the banker. I was always going to be the banker because I didn't trust that people weren't stealing money.
Wow.
I needed to make sure that things were allocated perfectly. So yes, I it's not just board games, I'd say. It's pretty much anything in life. It's like a white line fever type thing. Whatever it is, there'll be some kind of competition. Even if it's not official, the competition is going in my head.
And you'll take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's right. I'm like, yes, I beat them.
What was the last movie you watched?
Tenant, which I don't know if you've seen that yet, but every single person that has seen it, it came out, it was one of the few Hollywood blockbusters that came out during the sort of the big pandemic times, I guess. And I've only sort of just gotten around to it because it's popped up on Netflix, so you don't have to hire it or anything now. And I thought, oh, yeah, I better go watch that. And I had some free time last week and I watched it, and it is exactly like everyone describes it. I do not know what I watched.
Oh.
And I can't work out if it's in the future or if it's in the past. And yeah, I know people that have watched it 3 or 4 times and still can't work it out. So I think it puts the Matrix to shame. Like, yeah. So it's really well acted and it's really interesting. But yeah, I still can't quite work out what it was about.
So despite the confusion, you still recommend it?
Yeah. As a challenge.
Was an uncertain year.
Well, it goes back to the competition. Probably as a challenge that if someone knows what it's about, they're a winner.
There you go. If anyone does know what it's about, feel free to reach out and let us know.
Yeah, let me know.
Your strength is innovating and enhancing businesses. What has been the major contributor to that?
I think it's probably from 2 perspectives. I'm a big picture person, and I probably don't think the way the majority of stereotypical accountants think. And I tend to see, if there's a problem, I don't need to see the steps to the solution. I love being able to work out how that is. And I think probably just from a personal perspective, I just like to help people, and I like to make a difference with things. And I guess that's probably what drives the way that I do my work and making a difference, hopefully, to businesses in a positive aspect. But yeah, just being able to see the bigger picture and see different perspectives, but also a big drive to actually kind of want to make a difference in the world.
What does it mean to be a virtual CFO?
Yeah, a virtual CFO or an interim CFO is someone that sort of steps in, whether it's on a permanent basis or whether it's on an interim basis. So I guess with a virtual CFO is probably the sweet spot that I have is in the not-for-profit and the sporting sector. So the boards for not-for-profits and sporting organisations tend to be quite sophisticated and have quite experienced people on them. But due to probably monetary constraints and budget constraints, they can't afford someone with high-level expertise on a permanent basis. So that's where I come in, is that they'll normally have quite a, whether it's just a bookkeeper or an accountant on site, and I'll be able to come in and provide that high-level expertise.
Like more strategic.
Yeah, more strategic.
And coaching maybe.
Yeah, it's a lot of coaching, and also just being able to deliver a lot of the reporting that the board needs. So the sophistication. So, I mean, there's a lot more pressure for smaller organisations to provide KPI reporting and cash flow forecasting, and those kind of things can be really difficult to get and it's quite time consuming. So I guess I could come in, whether sometimes it can be, say, 5 hours a week or just at month end to provide that high level expertise. And an interim I do a lot of interim stuff too. So that could be, one of my long-standing clients is a medical exporting client, and their finance manager, pre-COVID, would go overseas for 6 to 8 weeks every second year. And so I would just step in for the 6 to 8 weeks to sort of keep things ticking over until they got back. So the team would take up a lot of the slack, but then, just some of that higher level stuff, I might come in a day or two a week over that 8-week period to be able to just help out. So that's sort of where that comes from.
So I've recently heard the term fractional CFO as well. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, I probably haven't heard that term, but the whole virtual CFO thing, I mean, I've been doing it for probably 6 or 7, maybe even 10 years now, but it's definitely... it's a up and coming thing, and it's become quite popular. I'd say the fractional CFO is probably referring to that, sort of maybe coming in, whether it's half a day a week or a certain period a month. Yeah, so that's what I'm assuming they'd be talking about.
Yeah, so then I think it's more consultants who then do that. Yeah. For 5 businesses for 1 day a week.
And that look, that's what I do
Sounds
too. Yeah,
similar.
Yeah.
Cool. You are an avid board member with a lot of experience sitting on various committees. What has been your motivation to be so involved?
That just comes just from wanting to give back to community. So the majority of the roles I take on are purely out of passion. So I guess the CAA and Z, I'm really passionate about the profession and what we do. I've actually just gotten a role with a land titles finance risk and audit committee, so that's purely because I did law at uni as well, and the Mabo case was just that, and the Trade Practices Act. I don't know why I was obsessed by both the Mabo case and the Trade Practices Act, and it's probably to be honest, that Mabo case is probably partly why I've been so passionate about First Nations people as well. But so being able to work with an organisation, and so that's actually quite a coaching role. So part of what they the remit for the independent role was that to assist the people in the organisation and also the Aboriginal people on the committees to upskill their finance skills. So and then being able to combine it with sort of land rights and land title stuff was just really exciting opportunity. So and I found out 2 days ago I got the role. So that's
congratulations!
Awesome. Yeah.
I've recently watched Ando, his interview with Justice Michael Kirby.
Oh, yes.
And one of the things he said at the end was, what would you do less of or something? And Justice Kirby said, I'd sit on less committees.
Oh, interesting.
I know.
Because he was quite a giving, like he felt like he was a very community-minded judge. Yeah.
And so I've been reflecting on, I guess, the committees that you can sit on where you can make a difference.
Yeah.
Rather than just committees that you sit on where people just talk about stuff and it goes around and around and you don't actually get anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he means.
Yeah. And look, I think that's probably the approach I've taken. Like, there have been committees and boards that I've been involved with that are like that. You just feel like you're just frustrated, and ultimately I've resigned from them. Like my term hasn't come to an end. I've actually resigned from them because I felt like you're just getting nowhere, or the governance structure is just that you're just there because they need something for the state.
Yes.
Like, so it's a national operations, and that we have to have something for the state, but they don't actually listen to what's relevant to your needs. So it has, like, I kind of agree with that, and I'd say that's probably the approach I take, is I always enter something that I'm quite passionate about. But I think you do need to take the perspective that if you're not getting where, or potentially there's some issues with the way the board runs or something like that, then you do need to pull the pin at times.
But I do think it's that experience that you have that makes you be able to call it as well.
Yeah.
Like, I was interviewing someone for a board that I'm the chair of recently, and I said, what is it that you've sat on boards and it hasn't been what you expected? Like what don't you like about sitting on boards? And they said, well, I don't like it when I'm just picked because I'm culturally and linguistically diverse and no one's actually interested in what I've got to say.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they could answer that question so succinctly as well really helped us as a board know that they were the right person for us.
Yeah.
So, like, knowing what you don't want sometimes can be just as important as knowing what you do.
And it's interesting you actually say that, because the task for there was a open application for this role and for the land titles role, and it got down to 4 participants, and we were actually given the financials that had been prepared for them for the last couple of months, and it was our job to present those. And
it's a great idea.
Yeah, it is actually. And I sat down a couple of times and I'm looking at this information and I'm just looking at it thinking there's nothing actually in there. So it was the kind of thing that had been prepared, that the income is down from budget because there wasn't enough income, or the expenses vary from budget because the expenses vary from budget. And I had in my notes, why? And it was funny. I went into, so I really felt underprepared going into the presentation. And I said to them, look, this is going to sound really terrible, but I don't think I actually present what's in here because there's just not enough information in there. But what I'm actually going to do is give the kind of things that I think might be the reasons why things vary, and as a bit of an example of the things that I would expect to see. And then I also sort of went into, like, it was just an actual versus budget report. There was no projections. There was no cash flow forecasting. There was no KPI assessment or anything like that. And that's what I presented to them. And then I got the phone call a couple of days ago to say I got the role. And they said that the board was super impressed with my presentation. I'm like, but I didn't actually present anything. And it was really funny because I actually got the board papers yesterday for the next meeting. And it's interesting, there was actually additional commentary to those papers from the board saying, where is the cash flow forecasting? Where is the why things vary? So,
but you just opened up their blind window where they didn't know what they didn't know, and that's how they knew that they needed you.
Yeah, and I think it was I was consciously thinking, am I going to shoot myself in the foot by essentially just saying these reports are crap?
Yeah.
But I had to be honest, and I bit the bullet and just was really honest with them, and it obviously paid off because this is obviously what the board were thinking themselves.
Yeah.
And
having someone from outside.
Yeah. So, but I could have tried to bluff my way through, but that probably would have been the worst. It ended up just having that guts to do that actually worked out in favour.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. As the chair of the SANT Regional Council for the Chartered Accountants in, oh my God.
Australia, New Zealand.
So long. All right, I'm going to start again.
CAANZ.
Okay. As the chair of CAANZ for South Australia and the Northern Territory, who are our amazing sponsors for this season, tell us what the opportunities are for members.
Well, I mean, I've been involved with CAANZ for probably over a decade now. So first of all, it was initially what was the Women's Committee, which I just hated that title. And I sat on it for a number of years just purely because in looking at some of the stats that had come out, women were leaving the profession after about the age of 30, 35. They weren't necessarily seen in leadership positions as reflected in the workforce. So I thought I could I'll join that committee and make a little bit of a difference. And I sat on that committee for a number of years and eventually ended up chair. And me being me, just decided I wanted to shake things up a little bit, in that I felt like we were seen as a mother's meeting and not really taken seriously. And I sort of saw a bit of a gap in that there were other areas that were totally underrepresented in our industry. So First Nations people, people with disabilities, people from different cultural backgrounds, like that. People from different cultural backgrounds are in our workforce, but they're probably not represented in leadership as much. And so I said to the regional manager at the time, I said, let's just shake this up and let's just make this a diversity and inclusion committee and put a terms of reference saying these are our pillars that we want to address, put some expressions of interest out, and the plethora and breadth of people that all of a sudden wanted to be engaged. It got to a point you used to have to tap people on the shoulders. Do you want to join on this? And I think that year we had 36 applications.
Wow. Just
from being bold.
Yeah.
And then that sort of led to sort of moving into the regional council. And the one thing I would say about the people in the committees, on the council, and in the organisation, they're so passionate about making things better for members. And I think, look, we don't always get things right, and it's going to be really difficult to do things that covers every single member. But the passion for the profession by the people that are involved in the organisation is just like, it astounds me. And I'm getting a bit teary actually, because I've reached my term. So so I'm chair this year, but I've reached my 3 years of 2 terms, and three terms of 2 years. And so I finish up this year, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to be involved
What am I going to
anymore.
do?
I'm sure I will be involved. They won't be able to get rid of me that
somehow.
quickly. Yeah, like, because of that passion and that drive by the people there, like I actually feel really sad. So yeah, I think, the organisation is just really passionate about making experiences better for members, and opening up that communication is, particularly in recent times, has really improved as well. I can't remember if I actually answered that question.
I think you did. I think
I did.
What is your purpose?
Oh, well, I think I've kind of touched on that. I want to walk out of this world on making it a better place somehow. So yeah, I think there's always a drive to better self as well. I always want to be learning, but I think my purpose is definitely to, in everything that I do, leave it in a better state than what it was when I got there.
What would you say to 18-year-old Stacey?
Oh, I was actually sitting on committees and doing all of that. To be honest, I feel like I haven't grown up actually. To be honest, everything that I was doing at 18, I was probably doing now. I was probably the opposite of majority of people. I was probably more disciplined when I was 18. So I was working full time, studying full time, and I was playing quite high level sport for South Australia and Australia, and representative netball and things. So I was so disciplined as an 18-year-old. So yeah, I'd probably actually go back and just say, have a bit more fun.
There you go. That's a good lesson for any 18-year-old.
Yeah.
On the way through. Don't
Maybe
be
not
so
all
serious.
of them. Some of them.
Well, me too. I think that would be good message for 18-year-old me too.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in today.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. One thing I did say is the other thing was making connections. And that's actually how we actually got involved in this.
True.
We at the regional council level, we were talking about, it'd be great to do some podcasts. And I was like, I know an organisation that already does awesome accounting podcasts.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a great partnership.
I've really enjoyed it too.
Good. Yay.
We're on a mission to find like-minded accountants from around Australia. If you are a purpose-led accountant, continue the conversation with us in our private Facebook group. Search for Accountants on Purpose. Join us, and together we can change the world for good, for good.
it was renowned in Monopoly. No one in my family and friendship group when we were kids was ever allowed to be the banker. I was always going to be the banker because I didn't trust that people weren't stealing money.
Wow.
I needed to make sure that things were allocated perfectly. So yes, I it's not just board games, I'd say. It's pretty much anything in life. It's like a white line fever type thing. Whatever it is, there'll be some kind of competition. Even if it's not official, the competition is going in my head.
And you'll take it to the next level.
Yeah, that's right.
What would you say to 18-year-old Stacey?
I was actually sitting on committees and doing all of that. To be honest, I feel like I haven't grown up, actually. To be honest, everything that I was doing at 18, I was probably doing now. I was probably the opposite of majority of people. I was probably more disciplined when I was 18. So I was working full-time, studying full-time, and I was playing quite high-level sport for South Australia and representative netball and things. So I was so disciplined as an 18-year-old. So, yeah, I'd probably actually go back and just say, have a bit more fun.